All right, welcome to episode 26, which is my age.
Oh. Well, we didn't say that about the last episode, which was my age.
I thought you would, but...
No, I use a battery reference instead.
Right, the iPhone reference.
Well, happy... What would it be called? You know how you have like
golden
your...
birthday. Happy golden episode.
Oh.
Happy belated golden episode to you.
It's a little too late for me.
I was a little wrapped up in how to do math in the last episode.
Your golden birthday, though, was your fourth birthday?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
You know, it was one for the books.
A real rager.
I'm pretty sure there was a slide involved.
Oh, well.
But I can't be sure.
You know, I don't know why adult parties don't have slides now.
They really should.
I would love a good slide. If I went to a party and there was a slide there, I'd be like, well, this is about to get real weird. In a good way.
Good to know.
I'm just saying at your wedding there should be a slide.
Oh, is that what you're saying?
That was really actually what I was trying to segue into.
Understood. If I tried to go down a dress...
you don't have to be involved.
Drunk
you just should have one
champagne in my dress, it would have been... It'll be a fun time for everybody.
I'm going to be in a suit, so I can totally rock a slide.
Yeah, no one's going to be...
Also, a moon bounce would be ideal for me.
All right, you just write your list of demands and get them to me, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Those are my top two.
Also, get the blank check ready, because obviously you're fronting all of these things.
Oh, with my magical wallet of endless money, right? Okay.
Yeah, that.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Great. So anyway, what's the haps?
What? Nothing, Dad. What's up? You know, at work, I don't know who's listening at work to this, but I won't say who, I'll just say someone at work told me this week that their pet peeve is being asked what's up. What the hell am I supposed to ask you then?
What? Why?
Like, someone...
How is that a pet peeve?
Like, I walked in and I was like, oh, what's up? And they went, can you not say that? It's really my pet peeve to hear that. And I was like, what the...
Wait, are you serious?
What am I supposed to say?
What are you supposed to say, like...
how's it going? That sounds, like...
It's the same
awful
thing.
As well.
Yeah. What if you say, like,
hello, good madam?
Yeah, like, how fare you on this fine afternoon?
Good morrow.
Good morrow, sir. Has there been any news from town? I don't know anything about old words.
I've just been avoiding her because I don't know how to start a conversation now.
Because you can't speak to a person unless you're like, what's up? Because that's a normal thing to say.
I could say, hey, and then when she says hey back, it's like back on me, and I don't know what to do.
It's like, maybe you just start talking about yourself. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Well, I said, what's the haps? So maybe you could try that.
Okay.
I feel like it's unique.
Yeah.
Throw her off.
Anyway, what's up?
Can you actually not say that to me? Because it actually does make me highly uncomfortable.
Okay, good.
I'm currently drinking white wine today. I thought you should know.
Wow.
Which is a rarity, but it's really friggin' hot out. So I was.
Does white wine make you colder?
Well, because it's refrigerated.
Oh, right.
Refrigerated.
Okay. I have just only proven again that I don't know what alcohol is. Apparently,
I mean,
to actually think that white wine makes it cooler. Why not?
Listen, it might as well. That's your role on the podcast, so own it.
I mean, if you were really that hot, you could just get a milkshake like me.
I could, but
always cold.
You know.
Always hot off the press, but cold off the machine.
Sure, that's really clever. So what are you drinking?
The same thing I drink all the time.
All right, you just get mad when I don't ask, so.
Yeah, as soon as I have a routine down, all of a sudden you start asking, and now I feel it. I used to mix it up and have variety. Not anymore.
All right, well.
I thought if you weren't going to ask, why would I try? And now you're asking. It's like, well, shit. Now
that's why you got to make something up.
Okay, well, then I'm drinking... I don't know.
You should take improv classes with me.
I don't want to.
You failed real hard just now.
Yeah, I know. I felt it.
Anyway, why are you drinking?
Well, I don't know.
You know what? I don't know either.
Uh-oh.
I forgot to prepare.
Are we having a good week?
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
This can't be. Bring me back. Bring me back.
I'm still dating Allison, which is, it's long distance.
Ugh, that's why I fucking drank. Just kidding. Oh. Love you guys.
No. So
long distance sucks.
Long distance sucks. But it won't be long distance forever. It's just for right now.
Yes. But it does suck. I totally feel you on that. That's a legit reason.
I think so.
Yeah. I drink because
What is wrong with us?
I don't know.
Are we growing up?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, that
Take it back. Take it back. I don't want it.
Good. The podcast is going to crumble.
The whole theme is self-sabotage.
What else can I be if not degrading?
Well, you can...
Degrading. What the fuck
You
is
cannot
that
know how to
word?
talk.
What else can I be except self-degrading?
Deprecating?
But like degrade yourself.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Self-degrading. For fuck's sake. Self-deprecating
go back
and
to
degrading.
school.
I could.
Maybe that's why you drink.
Anyway.
Do we have any announcements?
I do have a couple. I just wanted to say we're super excited. We set up our store officially. So we're selling merch online. We have a wine glass. We have a t-shirt. We have some tote bags. You can be either Team Wine or Team Milkshake. And we're having a production meeting soon to come up with more merch. And a lot of people have requested Geo merch, which obviously is at the top of our list. But we want to make sure that before it goes out, it's 100%. So we are prepping that. But you can go to, and that's why we drink.bigcartel.com, or it also links from our website, and you can pre-order some fun stuff. And if you're a Patreon donator, you also get a discount. So,
ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And
I wish I were a Patreon member all of a sudden. Do I get a discount on my own shirt? No.
You're going to have to pay full price.
Okay, well, duly noted.
Give me your credit card. I also want to add that we created a lot of people have requested this, a closed Facebook group where everybody can go on Facebook and, request. It's sort of like a secret group where you can go in. It's similar to the My Favorite Murder one, and people can discuss like episodes or, submit suggestions or just talk with each other. And get to know each other. So we created one of those, and we originally had one for Patreon donators. So instead, we're going to try and transition them, our patrons, to other rewards like a monthly Facebook live chat and that kind of thing, and then make the group open to all our listeners just so everyone can, engage and get to know each other. So
mingle among us.
And it was Em's idea to do the Facebook Live, and that's going to be actually pretty fun. So
it is a nice Q&A perchance.
That could be fun.
Because we get a lot of, I don't know about you, but on my Twitter we get a lot of questions.
Yes, I know, and it's hard to keep up with all of it. But so Patreon donors will have a Facebook Live Q&A type thing.
We are also, I don't want to say anything yet, but we're in talks of doing some very interesting side projects that may or may not have anything to do with the podcast.
Oh, they're so good.
They're just things that, now that I have a platform, I want to do some ridiculous shit. So.
But I feel like they both do. They both stem.
I mean, they have things, it's just not a podcast. It'll just be a different media.
You guys will love them.
You will love them.
So that's all in the works. It's honestly I feel like going to be a huge couple months upcoming for stuff that's happening.
Buckle up.
We're finally getting the funds to put all this together and create some really awesome new projects. And Patreon donators we're adding new rewards for $2 donators, and we're adding as many rewards as we can to keep you guys, interested and engaged. And we just love you so much.
I'm pretty stoked about the things that we've talked about in private so far.
Oh, they're good.
They're real doozies.
So
Gio's involved.
Gio's definitely involved.
He's crazy involved. So if you would like to be a Patreon donator and see some very interesting things coming out that probably make no sense to anyone else but me and Christine, but we're going to do it anyway, then you can find our Patreon at that'swhywedrink.com.
Yes, and also last thing, before I get to the stories, regarding Patreon, another thing we're going to add is that you guys will get to be more involved in making decisions. So submitting merch ideas or voting on merch ideas, voting on t-shirt designs, get content or get not necessarily content, but news or info sooner than other people.
You'll get to tell us what you want and we'll do it.
Exactly. And chances to access things earlier than other people. So that's another thing we're adding. So it's
all in the mix.
All in the mix. So thank you for everybody who's already a donator. We cannot thank you enough for helping us make all this work. And now we're gonna stop, blabbing and
okay.
Get to this. We're gonna make Em shut up because she keeps talking.
By making me talk about ghosts?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
it's your turn.
Shut me up and make me talk. Got it.
All right,
I can do both.
We're gonna make Christine stop talking so much.
Stop drinking, really. kind of forgetting words everywhere, aren't you?
I thought I sounded very coherent.
Yeah, especially with your degradation or
All
whatever.
right. You know, English isn't my first language, so.
Okay. Throw that out there. That was weird.
I thought
I liked it. It was soothing.
Extremely charming.
It was. It was soothing, but in a way that I wasn't prepared for, which made it uncomfortable.
Definitely. And I think all our listeners felt the same way, that it was definitely not soothing. Who's Theron Schultz?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought they might be related to you. They just pledged $10 to Patreon.
Oh,
so it's
thanks.
almost like they read the airwaves.
Oh.
Theron Schultz.
Well,
Thank
they
you.
just heard me go, I don't know, like an asshole.
Well, it's with a T too, and your name doesn't have a T. Schultz.
Oh, thanks for knowing how to spell my name. Is it Theron or Tehran?
Or is it the Ron?
Well, I only asked
Like,
I only asked because I know a Tehran who spells like Theron. But my brother-in-law, his middle name is Theron.
oh, so it could be.
It could. I'm gonna go with Theron.
Let's go with Schultz.
Okay,
Thanks, Schultz.
I like that. Okay, let's get into some stuff.
So what knowledge are you raining on me today?
I'm gonna bestow upon you a real treat.
Oh boy.
Because, okay, so I've been here many times. It's like one of my favorite attractions.
Oh, I thought you meant my house. I thought you were like,
Oh.
I've been here many times. It's one of my favorite. I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
That's put your head's blowing up.
Wow, I'm very.
Okay, I was talking about Alcatraz.
Oh, that's definitely not the same thing. Okay.
Nope.
At least I hope not.
I mean, I like your place a little better.
Alcatraz is one of those places that I've always wanted to go. It's like my bucket list.
Love Alcatraz. I've gone on the tour a bunch of times, but as far as I remember, I only vividly remember going at least 3 times on the tour.
Wow.
It's the same tour every time because it's self-guided, so it's like a recording, and you put the headphones on, you just walk.
That is
and
so
it's like,
cool.
turn left here, and then... But it's really good. So, just gonna hit you with some knowledge first before we get into the ghosts, because we're here to be educated, aren't we?
We're here to teach you all about the things that you don't know that we are so smart about.
The School of Schultz.
Yes.
And the School of Schiefer. All 3 of those words are S-C-H.
Schiefer Schultz School.
Almost.
In German, it's Schule, so we could be Schiefer Schultz Schule.
We could.
You're like, no.
I mean, the possibility is there. True.
You want nothing to do with that. I see it in your eyes. That's how I feel about that.
So Alcatraz was opened between 1934 and 1963. There, during the time, were up to 1,500 inmates, and it was not a place for rehabilitation. It was just punishment, minimal privilege. Was not meant to be like it was just where all of the worst criminals go.
Right.
And it actually started in like the 1840s when Alcatraz was first taken over by the U.S. military, which what the fuck isn't taken over by the U.S. military?
But political commentary. Wait, so is that the name of the island then?
Alcatraz.
Right, so it's not just like the prison, it's like the name of the... you said it was built in the 30s, but then you said it existed in the 1800s, so I'm confused.
Yeah, it was still called Alcatraz, the island.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I literally don't know anything about it, so...
Okay.
Sorry.
Take you on a journey. So it was taken over by the military, and the first prisoners started all the way back then in the 1840s. That they were like court-martialed military convicts.
Oh.
And then later on, they always put prisoners on there. It was always an island because it's, I guess you haven't been there, so I should probably explain. It's literally an island in the middle of the water that's too far away for anyone to escape from.
Got it.
So it's like a giant rock. Like when you go to San Francisco, you have to take a ferry to get
Sure.
there. And it was known as escape proof because it was in the middle of nowhere. And so that's where they put the worst
Got it.
criminals because they couldn't get away. Even if they escaped, they couldn't get off the island because if they tried to swim, they would either drown or it'd be so cold and it was too far away.
Okay, so it's always been kind of meant for that, or used for that. Okay.
And so it was originally court-martialed military convicts, and then over time, like during the Civil War and everything, there were also Confederate soldiers, Southern sympathizers. They also at one point had Native American leaders. They had Spanish prisoners during the Spanish-American War. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't write it, so I freaked out and thought I wouldn't know what I was talking about, even though it's pretty upfront. And every prisoner that they took on, they had no running water for them, no heat, no latrines. There was disease, there was infestations. And this is like back in the 1800s, so it's not like, diseases you can just knock out
Sure.
with medicine later. It's like, oh, you're in trouble. Also, prisoners were bound, just to keep them on the island and not trying to run away. Prisoners were bound by chains that were attached to actual iron balls and confined in sweat rooms, like sweat boxes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was the first litter of people before this was even an official jail.
Got it. Okay.
So then 1911 is when Alcatraz became Alcatraz.
Gotcha.
And it was officially named United States Disciplinary Barracks. So it went back to just being like military prisoners. It was the Army's first long-term prison, and it quickly gained a reputation for being super tough. Mm-hmm. There were strict rules, a restricted diet, hard labor, confinement, and they still had the ball and chains.
The ball and that's just crazy to even think about.
I thought that, I know it was real at some point, but it's weird to report on it and be like, oh, this is the exact time period it was used.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like a real thing anymore.
Okay, so it was essentially escape-proof, and it was when they first started recruiting people to work there, they had the best available guards from all the federal penal system. Mm-hmm. Like, they went through the entire system in the country and found the best wardens and the best guards.
By best, do you mean, like, most strict? Or
like, most strict, most tough, most wouldn't take shit from anyone.
Sure, okay.
Because they were then going to go through all of the jail systems in the country and find the toughest, hardest people and put them all on that island.
Oh, my God.
So, the inmates only had 5 rights. It was food, clothing, a cell, a weekly shower, and the right to see a doctor.
Jesus Christ.
Other than that, they didn't have anything.
Oh, my God.
The worst inmates in the country were moved here, and a lot of them were even high-profile inmates. So, like, famous bank robbers or, like, Al Capone.
Sure.
So it was pretty regular that when new shipments of prisoners were coming over, there'd always be a, quote, celebrity...
Oh my
God. Criminal, a celebrity criminal.
Right.
And some of them were Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, not the rapper, the kidnapper. Floyd Hamilton, who was the driver for Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, shit.
And Robert Stroud, who's also known as Birdman.
Ooh.
You want to know about him?
Yeah.
The first bullet I have is an aggressive homosexual.
Oh, boy. Get him away from me.
And he was also, like, brilliant, like a genius. He was actually on, like, he had the IQ of a genius. But he was also homicidal.
Oh, I mean...
homosexual homicidal.
I know you're really homophobic, so it's like... homicidal.
He was a homicidal sociopath.
Oh, that's not good.
Who had a very Jekyll and Hyde personality where he would just snap out of nowhere. So...
Good.
Good. We could analyze that further if we want to, but I'm just going to go with what's on the paper.
Why was his name Birdman? Do we know?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Because before they brought him to Alcatraz, he was staying in Leavenworth prison. Mm-hmm. Leavenworth. And while he was there, he was allowed to have birds in his cell.
Well,
because he was big in the bird world. Like, he had like a no, hey, calm down, hang on. I knew I was gonna say it, and I knew you were gonna get weird. He had like a PhD in aviary.
Isn't it ornithology?
Sure.
Okay. Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think it's ornithology.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I know you don't believe me.
No, I do. Ornithology. Yes. He. So while he was in jail at Leavenworth, he found baby canaries and he raised them and started like a breeding program. And so because he was helping other prisoners, they allowed him to have birds in his cell. And it got to a point where he had so many birds that they took up 2 cells. I don't know how they were able to, like, they just had free cells to, like, offer up to birds.
So
like,
just like,
we're new inmates where they're like, we'd move you in there, but there's birds and they take priority.
I don't like birds.
Okay, well, maybe that's a proper punishment for some people then.
Maybe they'd put me in that cell.
He was doing research while he was in prison about birds and actually came up with cures for canary diseases and wrote a bunch of books and actually...
I'm sorry.
I don't know how it's...
Canary disease.
Some people actually do this job.
Believe me, my stepmom was like this huge bird watcher and bought me all these books and stuff, so now I can't take it seriously.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean, I know it's a very real thing, but...
So he actually made a lot of contributions to, like, the ornithology world.
But he was also a terrible person, right?
Yes, he was also Homo-cidal.
Homo-cidal
Yep.
sociopath.
Guess we found our title.
It's so interesting. I know. I already mentally noted it.
Okay.
But, so wait, why did he care so much about birds?
I don't know. I just like birds.
I know, but don't sociopathic people like...
I mean, it's like if I went to jail, I still like Back to the Future. You know?
Okay.
Okay.
But that's not a living thing.
I mean, no. I mean, I like dogs.
Yeah, but you're not a sociopath.
Oh, I understand. Like, if you're a
Sorry.
sociopath who's like one of the main things of a sociopath is you hurt animals.
No empathy and you hurt animals. But I guess maybe it's just like a hobby type thing.
Maybe. Also, there are sociopaths out there who like are aware of their impulses.
Sure, who are like lesser on the...
Maybe he's like, I don't want to kill animals. I just want to kill people.
Sure.
Because he did actually get out of jail, and then he murdered a person, and then he ended up going to Alcatraz.
Got it.
Where he was not allowed any birds.
Oh, sad.
So
I
there's
guess
that.
not really sad, but...
Also, it's weird that they called him Birdman of Alcatraz when he had no birds at Alcatraz.
Maybe all he did was talk about birds.
You know, I bet he was that weird guy at the mess hall.
Must have been. Nobody
Like,
sat with him.
oh, do you want to talk about dodos? No.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
No to the dodo.
Birdman.
Bum, bum, bum.
You're such a homicidal sociopath.
Okay. Ready for the next bullet?
I mean, no, but go ahead. I'll try to steal myself.
So at Alcatraz, there were, in its entirety, which was, let's say, almost 30 years. It was 29 years that Alcatraz was open. There were 14 escape attempts of 36 inmates, and only 5 ever made it out. But of the 5 that were able to escape Alcatraz, it doesn't actually mean that they escaped. Like, they just don't know where they went.
Oh, they just disappeared.
There's a source that suggests that they got to Brazil.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, you could have just gone to shore on San Francisco, but I guess they headed for Brazil.
What do they, like, swim there?
It was actually one of the more famous breakouts. I mean, they only had like 5 breakouts or something.
Sure.
One of the main breakouts that happened, that's actually like a really big story when you go on the tour.
Right.
Is there were 3 guys, 2 of them are brothers, and they wanted to break out, and so they stole spoons from the mess hall, and then for like months they had like a metal vent in their wall, in each of their cells, and so they like pulled it out, and they were scraping out the inside of the walls with spoons until they got to the vents, and then there's like a barber shop, kind of like how in Orange Is the New Black there's like a hair cutting area and stuff like that. They were stealing cut up hair from the ground, and they were working with another like work area and made fake heads with the fake hair on it and everything to make it look real. And one night they dug through the entire wall and climbed up through the vents and left the fake head in the bed, so it looked like,
oh my god,
when the cops went by and when the guards would do like a head count, they saw the head. And then by the time that they'd already escaped, and they had been working also with another work task, like another shift, where they were making slowly a raft.
Oh my god.
And so they snuck out, and then by the time it was morning, like the guards were like, why aren't you standing? And like poked the guy that was sleeping, and the head rolled off the bed and realized that they were gone.
Oh my god.
And then they never got found. But in theory, it's they got to Brazil.
Wow, so they really vanished. Like they didn't...
Yeah, them, and then there was another group of 2 men who also got away, and nobody knows where they were.
That's
so
amazing.
Only 5 people ever escaped, and we don't even know. For all we know, all 5 of those people, like the raft broke and they just drowned. Like
sure. So they just but they got out without getting caught.
They got out
somehow. Yeah.
In total, there were 36 people who tried to get out, and only 5 were successful.
So 36. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And successful, we don't even know if that was successful.
The other, well, this one wasn't successful, but it's the most famous escape plot, at least, of Alcatraz. It's called the Battle of Alcatraz, and it happened in 1946. And these 6 inmates, there were like, so if you look in the prison, if you look up, you can see the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor, like the tiers of cells. And there were, on the 2nd and 3rd floors, there were spots where the cops and the guards would stand with gun racks. So if anyone tried to escape, they'd just shoot them down.
Sure.
So I don't remember exactly how they escaped or how they plotted to, but they needed to steal this tool that would bend the bars,
Okay.
and then they needed to steal the keys off the cop so they could jump up there and grab a gun and then hold everyone hostage until they could get out.
Okay.
So there were 6 inmates that pulled that together and actually grabbed the keys, and in like such an like coincidental way, the cop who had those keys forgot to put back the gun key at one point, so it was somewhere else. So they had the keys and didn't have the right one to grab the guns.
Oh my God.
So they ended up, I don't know how, but they ended up getting a hold of different guns, and they ended up shooting down like a bunch of the cops. Well, they killed 3 of the cops, but they wounded 11. They also wounded a bunch of inmates who were just in the way during the gunfire. It was really messed up. 2 of the cops they just locked in a cell and then just shot them in cold blood.
Oh.
Like they weren't they couldn't even hurt you anymore.
That's so fucked, dude.
They ended up, so out of those 6, 3 of them, it was such a wild riot that they ended up calling in the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Army, like everyone. And the Marines ended up having to drill into the ceilings of the jail and like throw grenades down there. Like it got wild because they could just hear everyone on the island being held hostage and getting shot up.
So it's literally a battle of
Yeah.
Alcatraz, like a violent battle.
And so 3 of the men realized, they're about to get us. So, well, let's just go like wander off and pretend we're part of the mix of hostages.
Sure.
And so that way when they come in here, we won't look like we've done anything. And the other 3 decided to hide in this corridor, like this little passageway. Mm-hmm. So the Marines found the 3 of them and shot them on sight. So those 3 died in the corridor. Out of the other 3, 2 of them were executed, and 1 was given a sentence of 100 years because they decided to spare him because he actually was trying to help the wounded people.
Okay.
But so those were the 2 main breakout stories, and both of them are told on the tour.
Wow.
And like you can actually see the things. Like they'll say, "Now look up. There is where they tried to bend the bar," and it's kind of creepy because the bar's still bent.
That's super creepy.
Like you can, it's like they didn't change it. And they have a key hanging, which was the key that they were trying to find. And
that's chilling.
Mm-hmm. And you walk by the actual cell. Like if you stuck your arm in, like they don't have it glassed off. You can really put your arm inside the cell and see where like they have like a fake head lying in the bed, and you can see the vent that's still open and like the spoons.
That's wild.
It's really cool. It's so cool.
And I want to go so bad.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. It's like a 6-hour drive?
Yes. I'm already excited. Okay.
Okay. So so this is where I'm going to start talking about like the gruel. I was going to say gruesome, and I was going to say cool. It's kind of like Mean Girls.
Gruel, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about the food they served. I was like,
No, I'm not going to talk about that.
Tell me everything.
No, it wasn't that great.
I'm sure
I looked it up.
Literal gruel.
Probably.
Yeah.
So in 1937 alone, just that one year, 14 of the prisoners went insane. And not just because they were stir crazy from being locked in a cell, they like went insane. So just to give you an idea. Also fun fact, mental illness at this prison, they like didn't tolerate it. They thought it was just an excuse to get out of work.
Oh.
Because they were so tough.
Sure.
So this one's really sad. One inmate was getting his hair cut by another inmate who was a barber, whose like job was to work in the barbershop.
Uh-huh.
They were also lovers. And the barber had just like a weird trigger and with the scissors stabbed him while he was sitting in the chair and killed him. So that was one guy. One inmate was at work. Ooh, this is my favorite. He was at work where he was in the kitchen, took a butcher knife, threw his hand on the table, and while laughing maniacally chopped all of his fingers off.
What?
And then he threw the butcher knife on the table, put his other hand on the table, and then looked at the cop and begged him to chop the rest of his fingers off.
Oh my God.
Because he couldn't do it with the other hand anymore.
Oh my God.
The whole time laughing maniacally.
What the fuck?
Yep.
And also spurting blood out of his hand.
Spurting blood. Okay, so that guy's name was Percival. He was apparently a gangster and a bank
Percival?
Percival.
Percival?
P-E-R-S-F-U-L.
What a weird name.
Mm-hmm. Another inmate slashed his own throat with a pair of broken eyeglasses.
Oh, no.
And then he tried to scale a chain link fence because he knew like one of the rules is if you try to scale the fence, they'll shoot you down. So he intentionally like slashed his throat and then tried to climb up, and then they shot him down.
That's so fucked up.
another guy sliced through his jugular vein with the blade from a pencil sharpener. So it was believed that more men in Alcatraz, by percentage, it was believed that more men suffered mental breakdowns at this jail than any other federal prison to date.
Oh, that's so sad.
Although I don't necessarily believe that, because a lot of prisons have more than... I guess maybe it's based on like an annual... I don't know how it would be based, but there was only 1,500 inmates in 29 years. There's a lot of jails that have, like, I'm sure Rikers or...
Sure. And how they determine mental breakdown from the 1800 or 19 early 1900s.
So I don't know how that stat is these days, but
sure.
It was worth mentioning.
Youch.
So the first years of Alcatraz were known as the silent years, because one of the main rules at the time was no prisoners could speak, sing, hum, whistle, do anything that involved communicating with each other.
What in God's name?
So inmates were allowed to talk for 3 minutes in the morning and 2 hours on weekends. Al Capone was regularly put in solitary confinement because he always tried to talk anyway.
Of course he did. This reminds me of, was it Eastern State Penitentiary?
Mm-hmm. He was also there.
Yeah, and also they had the talking rule.
Yeah.
Oh my God, okay.
So Capone also went insane during his stay here, but that was because of his syphilis.
Syphilis, right.
So guards reported that this was like when he really was starting to lose it. Like,
sure.
They knew he was losing it.
Right.
He would refuse to leave his cell to go eat. He would be found crouched down in a corner of the cell like an animal. And he'd be mumbling to himself or babble in baby talk. Or sometimes he would just sit on his bed and just stare. Or he would strum the same chord over and over again on his banjo.
I like that he gets a banjo because he's Al Capone.
Yeah. He would mumble. Oh, yeah. He would mumble to himself. He would play banjo. He would stay in his cell and just make his bunk over and over again until the sun set.
Oh, my God.
And it hit him to a point where he feared for his life to do anything with other people. And so they gave him approval to just sit in the shower during rec time. And he would bring his banjo sometime and just play in the shower.
Oh, no.
So he just was losing it. But one of the ghostly things now is people will, if they're ever in the bathroom by themselves, they'll hear a banjo playing.
Whoa.
So here are the different cell blocks and the interesting things that happened in them. So block A, okay, I wrote the notes a certain way, but I actually just want to explain it without looking at my notes. There's, underneath the cells in the basement, there are dungeons. So last time I went with Cap, and she told me that when she had gone the time before we were going together, she knew someone who went on the tour and made friends with one of the tour guides and was like, can you show us anything that isn't on the normal tour? And then they said that they got brought down to these dungeons.
Oh, no.
So when Cap and I went, Cap went up to someone and was like, can you show us something that hasn't been on the tour? So I have seen these dungeons, even though they're not part of the tour.
Shut up.
Pretty cool. They're really, actually, we only got to be there for like 30 seconds because we were the last tour of the week and they were trying to shut down. And we were like, take us somewhere. So I got a glimpse, but I'll describe it to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so when you're on the main hall and you're looking around and you're in the jail, block A, right in front of block A, there's a staircase that you kind of have to walk around.
Okay.
And it doesn't go up, it goes down. It's like when they don't want anyone to use the stairs, they can just slam a door. And so you just see the railing of the stairs, but there's a door that covers you actually being able to go down.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Kind of like a city street, you know how those things that you don't walk on because they might always fall through?
Ah, yes.
Kind of like that. It's just like a metal slab.
Got you.
And if you wanted to lift it up and go down, you could. So down there are the dungeons. And basically it's a steel door. And then when you get down there, it looks like a catacomb. It has a lot of corridors. Mm-hmm. And there's stone archways. And they used to be, when it was in a military fort, it was where all the gun ports were.
Oh, okay.
And there's also fireplaces down there, but they weren't actually used to stay warm or anything. It was actually to heat up the cannonballs so that during war they could shoot cannonballs at people, and the cannon would be the cannonball would be so hot that whenever it landed, it would also catch things on fire.
Oh my God!
So they would make the cannonballs white hot and then shoot them, and then things would catch on fire.
Okay.
And prisoners at the time used to be chained naked to the walls in a standing position for 10 hours to 12 hours a day. And so that was That sounds like torture to me.
Yeah.
There was only one toilet down there that everyone had to share, and it was only emptied once a week.
Oh.
And you only got 2 cups of water and a slice of bread each day. So you were basically in pain and tortured the entire time. But because it was down in the basement, no one could hear your screams.
Oh, no.
One employee actually walked past the door in the last couple of years. This is just one of the ghost stories to throw in. One employee walked past the door to the dungeons and heard a loud scream like someone down there in pain. And she ran the other way. And then when her boss was like, why didn't you report that? She said, because yesterday someone tried to report someone getting screamed at. And when they went to go check, no one was down there.
Oh, great.
But so when I went down there, also, I wasn't going to throw this in, but just real short, kind of like bookends at the very beginning of this island ever being used and lived on. Native Americans were on there.
Oh, okay.
And then at the very end, after Alcatraz closed, Native Americans were like, we want to take back our property, and tried to live there for literally like 6 months, and then realized they couldn't do it because it's an island and you can't get food. And
right,
it's a cement island. It's not like it's like, oh, there's a tree.
Like a lush island.
Right. So, so when, I don't know if, I'm assuming it was after the fact, but when I went down there, it still has like markings from when like the Native Americans took back the land.
Wow.
And so what it looks like you're in, imagine like a 10-foot tall fireplace. Like it's just like a cement hole. Like there was no fireplace to it, but it was just like, it was big and it looked like a giant chimney that you could stand in.
Right.
And each of those little holes had metal hooks in the ceiling, and that's where the handcuffs used to be. So people would just have their hands cuffed to the ceiling and they'd stand there for 12 hours. And each chimney-looking thing was essentially a cell for someone to stand in.
God.
But when I went down there and you could walk around and see, there's like little drawings from like children living down there. There's like tic-tac-toe on the wall, and there's like little kid stick figure drawings on there.
No.
And they're old. They're outdated, like as if like they look like they've been sitting there for a while, or a handprint could have smeared them a little bit. But it looks like after it was abandoned, it looked like squatters lived there, but it was tribal families.
Oh my God.
Like using the space. And it looks like each little chimney area was used as a room, essentially.
How crazy.
Then there's cell block C. I didn't really find anything about cell block B. So if anyone knows anything about cell block B, let me know.
Boo, cell block B. Let's skip it.
So cell block, and I'm doing this in order, by the way.
Well, I was waiting, and I was kind of...
I was like, there's A through D, so let's start with F.
I was surprised.
Okay, so cell block C is that's the corridor where the 3 convicts had tried to hide in a passageway and got shot down during the breakout.
Okay.
That's why I told that whole story. So that happened in the 40s, and ever since then, you can still close off the corridor with like a giant door, and anytime you close it, you will hear like it sounds like bullets being shot back there, and you'll hear like clanging, like something's hitting the door, and if you open it, there's nothing there, and it'll go totally silent, and then if you close the door again, the sounds will come back.
Oh my God.
So people will regularly hear men screaming, they'll hear like guards saying get down, they'll hear clanging like bullets are hitting the metal door, and then there's nothing there every time they open it. There are also reports of a couple of men wearing like prison fatigues and like walking around in there. So like if the door's open, you'll just see them walking in there. And supposedly it's those 3 men that died in there.
Oh, shit.
The convicts that tried to break out. And prisoners in cell block C would also rattle their chains to signify if a guard was beating someone. Because at the time, in the silent years when you couldn't talk, they had to find other ways to communicate to each other. So if you saw your cellmate getting beaten, people would shake their chains to let you know that they were getting hurt. And so now sometimes you'll hear chains as if someone's getting beaten in there, but nobody actually would be there at all.
Oh no. Oh no.
Also in cell block C is a laundry room, and there's a smell of smoke, as if something's on fire, but it's a deserted laundry room. No one's used it in a long time. But guards will still go in and investigate, and a couple times they'll find this thick black smoke that's so overpowering that it drives them out of the room.
Oh my God.
And they'll go get help, and when they come back, not only is there no smoke, but has the smell of fire. It just totally vanishes.
Oh God.
So sometimes you'll see like a billowing cloud of fire smoke and nothing's there.
Right.
That's also because in 1970, after they closed, some of the natives were still there, and somehow a fire happened and actually destroyed a lot of the property. So a lot of it still looks like it's rubble from a fire.
Oh my God.
One psychic actually went on a tour of the jail and got to the laundry room and sensed that there was a fire, and then also sensed that in the same laundry room, someone who was bald with beady eyes, was standing there saying that he had been killed there.
Oh God.
So the cool thing about this is she went, because she got paid by like CBS or some news show to go investigate this place, like put her powers to the test. And they also brought a former convict from Alcatraz to go with her to confirm or deny anything that she said.
The fuck?
So when she said, oh, there was a guy that got murdered in here, and like she described what he looked like,
yeah,
the ex-convict was like, oh yeah, that was Butcher. And he was like, his name was Abby Maldowitz.
Okay.
But I guess they called him Butcher because he was a hitman before they caught him. And they said, yeah, he was murdered in the cell block, the C block laundry room.
Oh,
and then
God.
described him away from her, and their identities matched up.
Oh no.
So people have been touched and grabbed on the back of the neck. This is all over the jail. I'm going to get to the D block last because it's most interesting. But throughout the jail, people have been touched, grabbed by the back of the neck. They've heard disturbing things whispered to them. Investigators have gone in there and asked for names and have gotten full names of inmates. So one of them was Harry Burnett, who was an actual on-record convict. They asked, where do you think you are? And he wrote, I know where I am. This is my hell.
Oh, fuck.
And by wrote, I mean said. And by said, I mean the EVP picked it up. But but it said, I know where I am. This is my hell.
What the fuck?
And then one spirit tried to grab a female investigator and said, I want you. And she remembers feeling someone grab her on the butt. One spirit in the basement said that he feels too guilty to leave. And shadows are often seen walking in the catwalk, up in the top tiers. And they'll also see them behind the bars. So instead of thinking, oh, maybe there's a shadow casted from the windows, they can see the bars one color, and they'll see a human-shaped shadow behind the bars walking back and forth.
Oh, no.
And one of them is Birdman, who regularly walks around his cell and will walk through the wall towards the library, which would be where he was doing all of his bird research.
His bird research.
One warden could also hear sobbing from inside the walls, and whenever he said, stop making that sound, this cold wind would, hit him in the face. Banjo music came from the shower and also came from prison walls. There'd be apparitions of Native Americans, military, inmates, and guards. A man will appear wearing a gray suit with a brimmed cap and mutton chop sideburns.
Sure.
And when you see him, the temperature will drop and the power will go out.
Oh, no.
And there have been a couple times where the guards were doing overnight patrolling, and they had a flashlight, and like a movie, the flashlights would turn off and their radios wouldn't work, and they would just be stuck there with a guy standing there with his mutton chop sideburns. And then he vanishes.
Oh, my God.
There also a lighthouse that isn't there anymore will appear out of nowhere. If you're far away enough, you'll just see the lighthouse as if it never crumbled, and it will glow, have this beacon light that's bright green.
Yeah.
And once the light goes around once, when you the second you look away or blink, the whole lighthouse is gone.
Oh my God.
You'll also hear this weird sound with it, and that sound will go away when the lighthouse fades away. There's phantom gunshot sounds. There's phantom screams. The screams sometimes are so real that they would send in the seasoned guards because they were too afraid to find out what was going on. The screams were so scary that people who heard them thought that prisoners must have broken out and had weapons and were shooting down the place. They were that real of screams. Night patrolmen will hear people running around on the upper tiers. And the hospital ward and mess hall, you'll both hear screams of inmates, because in the hospital ward and the mess hall, they used to handcuff some people to the table until they finished their food, or until if they were having a mental breakdown, they'd be cuffed down until they could calm down, and so you can hear them screaming still. And there's also unexplainable crashing sounds, screams, cell doors that close on their own, cold spots, dramatic temperature drops, moans, chains rattling, and the constant fear and feeling of being watched.
Oh, God.
Last thing I want to say is D block. Mm-hmm. It's called the strip cell.
Okay.
And it was also known as the treatment unit.
Uh-oh.
Treatment unit.
I don't like the sound of that.
Because it was made for the hard-to-handle inmates. So the ones with mental illness, bad attitudes, violent tendencies, etc. And they were dark steel cells that when you close the door behind, it was pitch black. The inmates would be stripped down to wearing nothing. They'd be given water and bread once daily and a mattress only at night. In the morning, they would take the mattress away, so you're just sitting in a cement cell.
Oh, my God.
The toilet was a hole in the floor with no sink. I'm assuming no toilet paper, so do what you will with that information.
Yuck.
Convicts had no contact with others and would spend their time entirely in pitch dark solitude. And they were not allowed time in the yard. They were not allowed shower time, and they were not given reading materials.
As if that's going to help anyone with a mental illness.
I know.
mean, for God's sakes.
Inmates could be sentenced to as long as 19 days there. And one convict was so dangerous that he actually stayed for 3 years straight. Every 19th day, they would have to reassign him.
Oh, no.
They would, nowadays, if you go in there, they make sounds, on their own as if someone's still in there. Like so one of the things on the tour is they will let you, the recording has like a paused section, or you can pause it yourself if you want a longer time. But the solitary confinement cells are open and you can close them behind you.
No, thanks.
So I've done that where,
No.
so there's one that I haven't gone to yet. It's cell block 14D, which is the most haunted room in the whole jail. And it's the solitary confinement that the darkest stuff has happened and the people with the wildest energies have been in there. And it's open for you to, like, if you want to put your phone flashlight on and look around, you can. It's really depressing looking. Or you can stay in there by yourself with the door open if you want. Or if you want, you can even ask one of the tour guides to close the door and keep you in there for 10 minutes, which I've done.
Why?
I want to know what it's like. I wanted to know for the paranormal feeling.
Sure.
And the second you go in there, it's like there's 100 people staring at you. Like, I've never felt such heavy eyes on me, and I'm in literally pitch black. But yeah, it's the creepiest feeling. And also on the tour, I didn't put this in my notes, but on the tour they tell you that the way that they would keep themselves entertained in there is they would bite one of the buttons off their uniform, and they would throw it and cover their ears so they couldn't hear where it landed, and they would just spend all day trying to find the button.
Oh.
And then just keep playing that game for 19 days. And but it is the weirdest feeling. You absolutely do not feel alone in that room.
No.
Like, it's guaranteed. Everyone that I've seen go in there and come out looks creeped out. Like, they just felt a million hands on them. So one of the things that they would also do is they would make noises like bang on the bars for other prisoners to know what was going on. So, like, they had like a tap code essentially, so they could try to communicate with each other.
Right.
So these cells also happened to face the Golden Gate Bridge, which had like fierce cold winds. So during the winter, it was even worse because like this winter wind would be shooting into them all day, and they're naked. They're in a dark cellar with no mattress, nothing to warm them whatsoever. And some of the wardens were dicks enough that they would also put on the AC.
That's so fucked up.
So there was a lot of psychological torture, but on top of people having to be admitted to the hospital ward later for insanity, it was also like pneumonia and arthritis from just being on cold cement for weeks.
Right.
Convicts would also get sent there. Convicts who did get sent there would also regularly get beaten up by the guards, and there was nothing anyone could do. Whenever someone heard, you know how if someone like drops a tray at a restaurant, everyone claps, even though it's like the dickish thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible to do. In Alcatraz, if someone was getting beaten up, all of the other inmates would scream and like rattle their chains. Like, I don't know if it's to amp up the guard, or I don't know what.
That's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard.
The terrifying thing is people have said that when the beatings were really bad and all the other prisoners would start, like, the prisoners who see it are making noise, so then it starts growing and the entire jail's doing it, that you could hear it off of the island. You could hear like just a full just
Oh my God.
men chanting and chains rattling.
Oh my fucking God.
So cell 14D was the cell I was just talking about. A ghost in there one time, an inmate went in there, and maybe he was losing it, but he saw a ghost in there that said that his legs had been broken by guards and he was left there in solitary confinement to die, which on record did happen. And he had never talked to this guy before because you can't talk at Alcatraz, so how would he have known that? Also in the 1940s, an inmate was in there and he was screaming to get out because a thing with glowing eyes was trying to kill him. And they heard him scream all night and they ignored him. And then the next morning it was silent in there. So they went to go check and he was dead. And they found out that he was strangled, but the marks on his neck suggested that he didn't do it.
What the fuck?
Because, like, you know, if you tried to strangle yourself, your hands are going to be a different position than if someone else did it. And he didn't strangle himself, but he was definitely strangled by something.
The fuck?
And so now people in there will say that they see the thing, like the thing with glowing eyes.
No.
And also the weird thing is when that guy died, the next week after that, the guards were doing head counts and would regularly count too many prisoners. And they would keep seeing him in the crowd when they were doing head counts. And then when they would do a double take, he'd vanish. But they kept seeing him and getting their numbers wrong when they would try to count the prisoners.
Oh, fuck.
So now in the cell, like I said, there's just like this gloom intensity that someone's always staring at you. An apparition of a man dressed in late 1800s prison attire will show up. The cell is always cold, so even in the summer, if you go, and the entire jail is really hot, even the other solitary confinements on that block are really hot, you go into 14D and it's always cold.
Ugh.
And that's that. So then Alcatraz closed in 1963, started doing tours pretty quick after that.
Youch.
And that's that.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Mm-hmm.
My turn.
Your turn.
I'm going to tell you about... so this actually, I want to give credit. This was sent to us via email a while ago by Rhonda C.
Hey, Rhonda C.
Hey, Rhonda C. She's also a Patreon supporter. And she sent this a long time back, and I had it saved in like a suggestions folder, and I went through it today and thought this would be a fun one to do. So this is the story of Mark Twitchell. I'm just going to... Oh, he's also known as the Dexter copycat killer.
I like that.
So in 2008, a man named Gilles Tetreault met a woman named Shauna on the dating website Plenty of Fish, which Blaze was on before we started dating.
My mom and her boyfriend met on ourtime.com.
Oh, I was on OkCupid for a hot minute. So he was on Plenty of Fish, and he met a woman named Shauna. So after a couple of days, Shauna invited him on a date. She asked him to come over to her house, but use the back garage entrance because it was the easiest way to get to her suite. So he was kind of like, that's a little weird. I see some red flags, but he also said he was trying to get himself out there and meet new people, so he went anyway. When Tetreault arrived at the garage, he was violently attacked by a man in a hockey mask.
Oh my God.
The man prodded him with a stun gun and threatened to shoot him. And he said his first thought was, is this Shauna playing a trick on me or something? Because at this point, he had been talking to her so regularly that he just assumed she was still in the picture. So he turned around. He saw a man in a hockey mask hovering over him. At first, he thought, maybe this guy's trying to mug me. But then he saw the attacker's gun and realized, I'm in big fucking trouble. And
oh my God.
This is not about Shauna. So he lunged at the gun, realized it was fake, which is when he started to actually fight the guy back. So he actually managed to escape. And the man who had lured him there was 29-year-old Mark Twitchell, an amateur horror filmmaker.
Oh my God.
So Mark Twitchell was born on July 4th of I did not write the year. I believe it was 1978, but I'm not sure, so we're gonna go with that.
Okay.
He lived in Alberta, Canada.
Oh, Canada. To be Canadian.
Anyway. Yeah, so Mark Twitchell was an amateur horror filmmaker. He had made a short film in his garage a couple weeks prior.
I'm sure. Was it a good movie?
That's as much of an amateur horror filmmaker as he was, so probably not.
Okay.
A week later, after Tetreault escaped, 38-year-old Johnny Altinger, who worked at an oil field equipment manufacturer, told his friends he was meeting a woman that he had met on plentyoffish.com. His friends started to get worried when they received weird calls from him explaining that he had met a woman who wanted to take him on a long trip to Costa Rica.
No.
His boss then received a resignation email, but when the boss requested a forwarding address for his final paycheck, he never heard back, which is a big red flag because you're going to get that final paycheck if you quit a job.
I want that final paycheck. Give it to me.
As a hashtag millennial, give me the final paycheck.
No, as a hashtag millennial, give me the fucking paycheck.
Give it to me. And
give me that.
If I don't ask for it, I'm probably dead.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Just know that. So his friends were worried, obviously, and they decided to break into his condo to see if he was all right. They found his passport, dirty dishes, and no indication that he had packed anything for a trip to Costa Rica. So they contacted the police, and a homicide investigation was launched. It turns out that Altinger thought he was meeting a woman that he'd met online, Shauna, when he showed up at the garage. When he arrived, he was ambushed by Twitchell, who hit him on the head with a pipe and used a hunting knife to stab him to death.
Oh.
Before dismembering his body and disposing of his remains down a city sewer.
No.
Ugh, I know. So Twitchell was arrested on October 31st of 2008 and charged with the first-degree murder of Altinger. So Tetreault, who was the
first guy.
Right, the guy who escaped, testified in court during this trial. And Twitchell admitted to attacking him, but explained that he had staged the attack as part of an elaborate hoax for a book, movie, and online entertainment project that he was creating.
Oh, Jesus.
He was hoping that Tetreault would write about the experience in the garage on the internet to generate buzz for his horror film. This guy, Tetreault, actually ended up many years later writing a book about his experiences called The One Who Got Away, as a way to kind of process the trauma and all that. So during the trial itself, the key piece of evidence that investigators used was a document they found in Twitchell's home called SK Confessions.
Oh, my. My.
Twitchell admitted to killing Altinger and also to writing the document. But he claimed the document was mostly fictionalized and that he had acted in self-defense. So do you want to guess what SK stood for? SK Confessions.
I was going to say it was Shauna something, but is it serial killer?
It is serial killer.
Is it?
Wait, you mean Sheena, the woman?
Sheena.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
I know if her last name started with a K.
Ooh, I wonder if it did.
Maybe.
Sheena K Confessions.
Yeah.
The Confessions of Sheena K. It sounds like a...
It sounds like The Secret World of Alex Mack.
Yeah. It reminds me of like a beach read. Mm-hmm. You know, like a romantic
Written
beach
by
read.
Stephanie Meyer. No.
Oh, maybe though. It has another... He said it stands for serial killer and one other thing.
Is it something I could guess, or is it too far out there?
I think so. It's a person's name.
No, I don't know.
It's his favorite author.
Oh, Stephen King?
Yep.
I was thinking Son of Sam or something like that, but
yeah.
that was not.
But you were on the right track. It was his favorite author. So he explained that the SK stood for Stephen King, his idol, or serial killer. You know, whatever you prefer. And the opening paragraph was as follows. Quote, "This story is based on true events. The names and events were altered slightly to protect the guilty. This is the
Not
story.
the innocent.
No. This is the story of my progression into becoming a serial killer."
Ooh, okay. You know what? He had the right idea of an original story, though.
Sure.
It was interesting until it was real.
It sounded like an SVU opening, like, dun dun, this story is based on true events.
Dun dun.
But, so it turns out that Twitchell, an amateur horror director, as I said, was infatuated with the premise of the show Dexter and saw himself as Dexter. And I don't know if I watched the first episode of that show and I couldn't deal with it, but it's a show where Dexter he's a serial killer of people who, quote unquote, deserve to be killed, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of like he kills people who are bad guys.
Right.
Right. Basically, he believed he was Dexter, and he followed his own movie script in killing and dismembering his victim.
So he wrote the script before he ever did anything, and then was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah, like, this is my script.
Oh,
right?
good.
So a lot of the info in the document was deemed too difficult to read in court and too upsetting. But I'm going to tell you,
by all means.
you know, it might be too upsetting for a jury, but
I told you the LaLaurie mansion, so I kind of had it coming.
right, you can never complain ever again.
Nope.
So,
Plus, you gave me a girlfriend and a dog and a podcast, so you can say whatever the fuck you want to me.
we need to start writing all this down.
I owe you every good reason I'm in LA.
You know that this is recorded, and I can play this back for you anytime you ever
I feel like
want.
you're going to make it into a ringtone
Oh,
for me.
for sure.
Every time I text you, thank you for everything you've ever given me.
You know what's going to be my first dance at my wedding?
Oh, good.
I'm going to come out, and Blaze and I are going to have to dance to that. I'm going to read some quotes from the book.
Okay.
So just warning everybody, it's pretty fucked up. Okay, so supposedly, Twitchell played with Altinger's head as a hand puppet.
Oh.
Quote, I grabbed his jaw with my gloved hand and moved it while making a funny voice to make it look like it was talking, and chuckled to myself at the total silliness of it all. He said the murders were pranks, and he said it was a prank to try and get, buzz for his horror movie out there on the internet.
Right, good PR.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Twitchell testified that Altinger got angry when he learned of the, quote, prank and attacked him. So in self-defense, Twitchell knifed him in the heart, then panicked, cut up the body, and dumped it down the sewer.
Okay.
Sure. He talked about, this is awful too, he talked about cutting open the torso of the victim and watching the organs slowly collapse.
Oh my.
He said, if I had a sense of smell, this might be disgusting for me, but I only find it fascinating.
Ugh.
So I guess he didn't have a sense of smell. He also said, as far as killing goes, most people fantasize about killing, and it only ever stays a fantasy. They don't have the disposition or the stomach to go all the way with their dark urges, but I do. I do not have any reservations about disposing of the negative people in this world who deserve a one-way ticket to the afterlife if such a thing exists.
So wait, what was so horrible about these people? Or, like, he just picked them off the street and was like, oh, they're bad, so this makes it okay.
He just wanted to kill them. Kill
Okay.
somebody. But actually, there was one person he wanted to specifically kill who was a former boss, who he said was a twisted old fart who hated life and everything in it. I owed it to the world to remove him from its glorious surface and would take my chance when I was ready. But again, he was arrested before he could.
That boss better thank his lucky stars.
Seriously. So he had, as far as I can tell, he was practicing for more. I mean, he messed up the first one, managed to kill the second one, got caught, but I'm sure it would have continued down.
Right, eventually he would have been seamless.
A bad path. He self-diagnosed himself as mentally unstable, writing...
No, well, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He
Nail
wrote,
on the head.
He wrote, I had found out through introspection and discussions with therapists that I am, in fact, a psychopath in almost every clinically defined sense.
Oh, well, as long as he's in the know.
And they didn't use that in court because they said, like, he can't diagnose himself. Like, that's just not proper.
I think that's the one diagnosis I would allow.
Right, well, that's why they were kind of, like, conflicted. But then they said, if he said, oh, I'm perfectly healthy and normal,
right.
It wouldn't be acceptable. But he was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years on April 12th, 2011. He's currently incarcerated in Saskatchewan Penitentiary. And he actually has, I found his dating profile on a site called Connect for Canadian inmates.
What?
Yeah.
That exists?
Yep.
No. Oh, wait, what technology are they using to be able to do this if they don't have a phone?
The internet.
So they're allowed to just Google whatever they want, talk to whoever they want?
Actually, I think the way it works is, I don't know if they get to use the internet, but they get to pay $35 a year for a profile, and then it's supposed to set them up with pen pals. So I think they get this account, this profile. I don't think they technically use the internet themselves, and then they get matched with outside people who are interested in writing letters to them as pen pals.
I'm sure there's like a non-digital version. Paper and pencil's cheaper than $35 a year when you're living off commissary.
But they get those profiles so that a bunch of people can find them online.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I feel like if you have once you've hit a certain level of criminal act, you should not be allowed. Like,
Well, that's-
oh, you can't have parole, but we can give you the internet.
But that's the big debate about it, is that like I was reading an article about, because this has existed in America for a while, but this is the Canadian version, was instituted a few years ago. And the big debate is obviously like, are we harming the general public by letting these people interact? But at the same time, like there was one man who was in prison for drug charges, like having marijuana. And so he was able to make relationships outside of prison with people so that when he was, freed, that he had relationships to like help build up a normal life. So it's very...
I feel like that's different though than being a murderer.
I mean, sure. So it's hard to draw the line between like who's allowed to have access to the outside world and who's not.
Right.
But yeah, so it's very controversial.
Interesting.
It's very controversial. But I mean, there are like prisoners are allowed to write to people outside.
That's true.
Anyway, so
that's true.
But so his profile, as of January 2017, he still has one. And I got a little excerpt for you. It says, "I'm looking for an interesting, intelligent, open-minded, delightfully imperfect woman to relate to and share amusing observations with, as well as potentially a long weekend every few months if it gets there naturally." It also says, "My crime doesn't define who I am or represent me at all. My creative engine never slows, so I produce artwork constantly and craft novels or screenplays to manifest my relentless imagination. I'm insightful, passionate, and philosophical with a great sense of humor. I enjoy tennis, chess, and clever storytelling. I love the rain and the music of artists like Sia, Jackie Evancho, and Arcade Fire."
You know what? Him and I have a lot in common.
Me too, right?
It kind of creeps me out.
A little weird. But that's where they can take advantage of people,
Yeah, I guess also thinking about it, if it were like old school letters, at least no one's giving their direct address anymore.
What do you mean?
Like if they were writing letters to someone, they would be writing to a personal address and could like know where someone lives later.
Well, this is like, it sets you up with a pen pal, like our handwritten pen pal. Is what I mean.
Oh,
So
wow.
like they don't use, they get this profile.
Just to match up, and then you guys do it old school from there.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I think it gives them access to people who want to write to them.
I got you. His profile, I mean, better than my Tinder. It's probably why I didn't get anywhere.
I mean, you should take a tip from this guy.
I'm into clever storytelling.
I'm into chess and rain. But again, like the detectives who are really against the investigators who helped with his case are extremely against it, because they're like, this man should not be able to, because there are like vulnerable people out there and gullible people who will say, oh, I can rehabilitate him, I can fix him, and if he gets off parole in 10 years, who knows what's going to happen. He was only 31 when he was sent to jail, and he had a 25-year, no parole. So who knows? But it's just one thing to think about. Anyway, so as I said, he thought he was kind of the Dexter of the real world. So in December 2012, Michael C. Hall, who plays Dexter Morgan on Dexter, was interviewed on the Canadian radio show Q about, what he thought about this whole thing, because this guy, Twitchell, claimed like he was inspired by Dexter. Mm-hmm. And Michael C. Hall said he does not think Dexter supports a lifestyle of serial killers, and that he hopes people's appreciation was more than some sort of fetishization with the kill scenes. He said, quote, "I wouldn't stop making Dexter because someone was fascinated by it only in that way. I try to tell myself that their fixated nature would have done it one way or the other, but it seems that Dexter had something to do with it. It's horrifying." So I think he was struggling with that too, about...
I mean, think about us. Imagine if, not the worst popular as Dexter, but can you imagine if we had someone listen to us and then like go do something?
Right.
Like that's, if anyone's listening, don't do anything in our name.
The pressure of
unless it's good.
Is crazy, because there are so many like unstable people in the world who misread or attach to things. Like, I mean, even on My Favorite Murder, sometimes they're like, we don't condone, like...
Yeah. Don't do anything bad.
Don't do anything.
Please don't do anything bad. Just drink milkshakes and wine and pet dogs.
Please, that's
and
all.
And don't come near us or our loved ones.
Just drink some wine. Don't come near us.
Just stay away.
Stay away from my P.O. box.
Stay away from... Just don't hurt anyone.
Unless you have gifts.
Don't be a dick. That should just be the...
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick.
Just be an undick. What's the opposite of dick?
A vagina.
Be a vagina. Oh, God, help me. Okay. Last line. In May 2013, Twitchell purchased a television for his prison cell. He stated that he has seen every Dexter episode that he missed since he was arrested and convicted of first-degree murder, and still watches the series to this day.
No. I feel like that's something where, like, if you're an alcoholic, you just, once you admit you're an alcoholic, you stay away from alcohol. If you watch Dexter and the fantasies are so strong, it makes you do some things that end you up in jail, don't watch Dexter anymore.
Yeah, but if you're a sociopath, you don't give a shit whether it harms people.
I guess also if you're already in jail, like, what's Dexter going to do
now?
now?
Right, sure.
Might as well watch it really hard now.
Definitely, you're, like, confirming your own actions.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I were any sort of TV show, like, I would either take after, like, SpongeBob or Bob's Burgers. Like, I don't think that I would...
I mean, you have already taken over Bob's Burgers. You're Linda Belcher to the T.
See, exactly.
You've already done it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are better shows out there to emulate. All right, guys. Thanks for staying on board with us and not jumping off to your death while we were talking.
If you would like to submit any final last-minute stories, maybe they could get into the next episode of our listener stories. But if not, then you have a whole month to get out on the September listeners episode. Fall is almost here. You know that means we only have 4 left after the one coming out. We only have 4 more listeners episodes for the year.
You're making my chest hurt.
We've been doing this for so long. Christine, you know what that means?
No.
We only have 6 more until we've been doing this for a year.
Oh, my Lord.
What?
Oh, my freaking God.
That's so crazy.
Let's hope we make it, knock on wood.
Oh, wait, 26. We're halfway there. This is our 6-month episode.
26 times 2. Oh, shit. High five. This is our halfway
Happy
point.
6 months. Happy half a year. Thank
Happy
you
6 months.
for me. All of this will probably get cut.
It will.
So, if you'd like to follow us anywhere, you can find us at ATWWD Podcast on
That's
Twitter,
right.
Instagram, Facebook. You can find our Patreon on our website at andthat'swhywedrink.com. We also have a shop.
Yes.
And that's why we drink.bigcartel.com.
That's right.
We also have our audio boom page. Give that a whirl.
And also we have our email. You can email us your stories. That's the best way for us to actually read them and make sure we can hold on to them for future episodes or suggestions or, love letters to me, because I know that a lot of you are burning to do that. So that email is andthat'swhywedrink@gmail.com. We'll check it. We'll respond. We're here for you. We are madly in love with all of you.
Yep.
And that's all I have to say.
And
That's
why
we
drink.
Bam.